So I've got this jam track, and it's going to be in two parts, right? It's got this kind of extended introduction, kind of this kind of repetitive trance kind of introduction. But I also wanted to kind of have some movement, some variation that happens kind of organically, right? So, I've got some squarps, I've got some electron boxes, and they're capable of doing random, throwing in some random variation in there, but it doesn't feel like it's a thoughtful kind of considered random in relation to what's already going off the track. It's just kind of more just random, versus this one can be kind of more of a build, and which is one of my primary use cases for the Cirklon, is kind of having a more thoughtful variation that happens with the music. It's very capable of that. Also, the other use case is that, when I'm jamming with my electrons or with my scarves, I have to kind of manually, I know it's got some song modes, it's got ways for you to kind of have, different patterns and different fills come in and out, but it's still a little bit limited in terms of, if you want something a little bit more advanced than just a random 25% with an ARP or something like that, then you're going to have to kind of man it yourself, right? And so what happens is that as I'm jamming, I still have to pay attention to what the other instruments are doing, and may have to kind of adjust the filter on a different instrument if I want it to kind of gradually come up or come down. And, it makes me miss playing in a band where all I have to do is just worry about the sounds that I'm creating and not really worried about kind of stage managing or orchestrating my gear, right? And so the Cirklon, I think, is going to be really good for that. I'm hoping this use case will illustrate that to some extent. I've got some notes here on the things that I need to do with this track. So the first thing I want to do, let's hit play on this track. And so you can hear, let's go one by one here, the things that are going on. So this is, track 5 is the Pro 3 bass here. It's very repetitive, that's all it's going to do, right? So it'd be cool if, if you do have some randomness programmed on the Pro 3 itself, but maybe during different parts of the track, the Cirklon can kind of control what's happening with the Pro 3 as well, based on kind of predefined movements. Next one here is the Moog. It's just kind of hitting this. It almost sounds like a little ska up strum or something. I don't know. I like it. The up strum stays in the track. And then I have this kind of opening line on the Prophet X, the PX, and that's the. And I also have the Prophet X. I got it split now, so one half is playing the upper kind of melody part, and then the other half is going to be the drums. You can see it right here, right? I got the intro, the drums here on the bass part. In this case, will be drums. And right now, I've got it programmed where the drums aren't going to play. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. You can see here, I've got a random mask on the aux B. Aux B is kind of just doing some fills, some triplet notes, I guess. I kind of still trying to come to grips with what all this stuff means. So our, rep times 3 is a little bit cryptic to me. I don't know what that means in context of music, but it plays extra notes. That's why I know. Randomized note, because it's a drum. If I go here and you can hear. They're not pitched, right? So different drum hits on different notes there. So I just randomize it a little bit. And if we go here, you can see that I just kind of have some random hits there. Note 3, there's nothing happening there. And then random mask aux B here, there's nothing happening here as well. So, and then so here's what's happening here is the aux D's got the random mask gate and it's set to 0, so that's why you're not hearing anything right now, because at 0% is never going to play anything. So these drums are not going to play. And what I would like it to do is, as the intro kind of goes along, I would like the drums to kind of randomly start doing some fills, right, or some hits, random hits, and kind of gradually ramp up as the intro goes forward, right? So the way I've done that is we go to our track here, I guess track number 29, you can see 13 drum aux 2. That's how I've defined it. If I go into here, and you see the first thing I do with the aux A here is I'm sending it to track 13. So you can see all of the values are going to track 13. The next one here, I'm masking. In fact, let's go to this view here. Aux B is going to mask aux E, right? So what's happening here on aux C is that this is what's adding to the accumulator on aux D here, right? And because it's sending to track 13, this is gonna go to track, the accumulator is gonna go to track 13. And so what you see here is, you see the offset here happening. So that's what it's gonna be adding to after every repetition. And you can see at the top here that I've got the time defined at 8th notes, not 16th notes. So this is actually going half as fast as the rest of the track to kind of slow down how often those drum beats come in. And let's just take that down to 1, 2. So yeah, let's see how that goes. So mass aux C, I think the intent behind this, right, was that for me to, once we got to, so the aux D accumulator, every time through is going to add 1, right? And once it gets to 20, I wanted it to accelerate, right? To kind of, it's going to go like this and then ramp up. And so, yeah, so that was the intent behind it. I don't know if this is going to work this way. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure my way out around this. This is not a how-to video. This is watch me stumble and grope my way around trying to figure out how-to video, right? I am not an expert by any means. I'm just inviting you along to the journey to witness me being a hapless kind of noob at this tool here. So let's just try that, right? But I think in order for that to happen, we need, maybe we want this to mask aux C if the D accumulator is greater than N. So once it gets above 20, then that's when it will turn on. Otherwise, it will not mask it. I'm not sure what that's really doing. 20% chance of it actually turning on. Not sure here. Let's just roll with it. And then you see this one. I don't know if this is actually gonna work or not. It's supposedly gonna randomize aux B, but I'm still trying to figure out how the send twos work, the sending access to a different track. I know the D accumulator is going to aux D, so this is not really, I don't think, gonna do anything here. Even if I turned it up, I think. So let's just go ahead and see what this looks like if I turn it on. And you can hear also we want to see the accumulator config here. Ooh, I don't want it going to 100 and... Actually, you know what? The accumulator config does not matter on this one because I'm sending it to track 13. I need to go to the accumulator config on track 13. Here, this is where I need to... This is where I can set the limit. And as you see, I set it to 40 and I want it to stop. Right, so it's not going to... it's maxed out at 40. And right now I have it where once it maxes out, it's not going to... It's going to clip, right? So it's just going to stay at 40. It's not going to go above 40. Well, I'm thinking maybe I want to send it back to 0, right? So that way the drums kind of peak up and then they kind of slowly fade out again. And then maybe that's when it goes time for the second part of the song to come in. So let's just go do that. Reverse through 0. Let's just go to reverse. I'm not sure what RVBP stands for. So let's go return 0. Right? So it's going to go up to 40 and then it's going to come back down. So let's see what that sounds like. Right, so let's go back to here. So let's turn this on. We start hearing drums come in very slowly. Let's go back to our drum track. Oh, there we go. Right, and we can just watch the D accumulator start to accumulate there. And so at 5, right, you can see what it's doing with this track here is at 5. When we go to the track, the accumulator, the aux D accumulator is at 5 or 6 or whatever it's at now. That means it's got a 6 or 7% chance of hitting a hit, right? So maybe when I turned it down from 2 to 1, it's too slow because these are just very random hits. Very random. And then you can see here we've got the notes kind of being randomized a little bit. And then here, this aux A here. Random masking the aux B here. So let's go ahead and change this a little bit. You can see the hits are highlighted here. So this is where I have my hits. On the notes are highlighted there. So I'm going to go ahead and okay, I gang them all, I guess. Okay, so let's turn this. There we go. So I'm holding down the end and the top and the bottom. There, and that's kind of giving it that slant. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Let's turn off every other one here. And then let's do this again. So we really want to kind of just add some really randomness to what's going on in the aux B, which is that step notes. Kind of, triplets or whatever, hopefully. You hear it right there. And so if I hit menu, you'll see it's at 22. So that's the random mask. Even though it says 0, the accumulator is at 22, and that's what's actually affecting here. Is it going faster? That's what we did the whole masking thing, right? On the other track. But it doesn't really look like it's going any faster, so I don't think it's really working the way I was trying to. I'll figure it out another time, honestly. I think next thing we wanted to do was we want to affect the opening line, right? So that very repetitive, right? The Prophet X is playing that really repetitive line. So let's add some variation to that. I think that's on track 11 here. So here I got no auxes going on, right? So three things I wanted to do to it. I wanted to gradually start dropping notes. I wanted it to change direction at a certain point. And then I wanted it to kind of vary the notes and the octaves at a certain point too. So the first thing we can do is start dropping notes. So let's do that. Here, so the way I would do this here is I'm going to do here, I'm going to set this to the random mask gate, just like we did with the other one. Right, random mask gate. So this is whether or not the note even plays. It's going to be this one right here. And I've got to 0. Let me gang all these notes here. So you can see here the lights down here show you which notes are actually turned on. So let me turn this all on. You see it's set to 0 right now, so that means a 0% chance of the note actually playing. And I ganged it. Let me only gang the ones that are on. Alright, so I only that way I can turn one knob and all the notes that are actually gated to play on will be the ones that I am affecting. So let's start these off at 100. I want to always be playing to start, right? Play the original melody. And then what I would like it to do is to gradually start to drop notes, right? So gradually start to drop notes. Let me see here. So the way we can do that, I'm not sure what happened to my drums here. There they are. And the way I'm thinking about doing that here is, I'm gonna do accumulator again, right? So maybe we're gonna add to the accumulator offset aux D relative. So every time through, we are going to, maybe drop a note here, and maybe want to max that out. I guess I have it maxed out at 65, right? So it's gonna be pretty. That means that I can get minus 65. So if I start at 100, minus 65, I'm gonna get to about 35% chance of it playing a note, right? So so you can see it's starting to drop notes now. You can hear it starting to drop notes. It's at, you know, minus 10 there. So now it's, you know, 89% chance of the note playing. So that's the first thing I wanted to do, was to kind of get that happening there. We got the notes to drop, but because I was using aux A here, you know, I had a negative number, right? Starting, the gate here is going to 100, and the accumulator is negatively dropping that 100 below a certain point, so the notes start to drop off. And what I would like for it to do is to change direction as the accumulator gets above to a certain point. I don't want this to turn on at the very beginning, right? I don't want it to change direction until after it's had some time to accumulate. And so, but the problem is that because my accumulator is a negative number, if I try to do something like this, where if I try to go to my, you know, accumulator mask here and say, you know, mask aux C until the accumulator is above a certain number, in fact, I can do that now, right? So I want a certain number to be above the accumulator, or vice versa, right? Let's do accumulator above a certain number. The accumulator is negative, and you see here I don't have the option to go below 0, right? I can only go above 0. I can't go below 0. Some of the other ones you can go below 0, but for this one, the mask aux C with the deaccumulator mask, aux accumulator mask, can't go below 0, so it's never going to activate. So I've been struggling with this, how to figure out how to kind of overcome this. I mean, it's a little bit of an oversight, I think, on the coding there, you know, but it's hard, you know, to kind of foresee all the different use cases. You know, I know that firsthand as a having been in the same shoes, where you conceive of a program or an app and you put it out in the wild and people don't use it. People use it completely differently than how you envisioned it. So I have sympathy there, but at the same time, I'm going to try to figure out how to get around it here. So, and so it goes back to that other video I was talking about, where I spent a lot of time thinking about how to make it do the things I want, in part because I know it's got so much power that I can probably get it to do it if I can just be clever enough, right? But for me, music's not about being clever. Music's about feeling, and it's hard to be in that feeling, hard to be in your feelings when you're just in your mind and being clever. So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm going to try an experiment here. I'm not going to do the mass aux. It doesn't work. I'm just going to try to randomize the aux here, and then what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to send the accumulator, the d aux accumulator, to that to see if that will do something. Right? I don't know if it will or not. So but the reason why I'm taking that accumulator off of A is because if I have the accumulator on A, then, you know, the relative offset where it's subtracting the 1 from the accumulator, then I won't have anything to actually mask, send the mask to this randomizer. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking off the accumulator offset off of this aux A. I'm going to use a different track to do it. Go to my upper quadrant here, and I'm going to go to my opening line. I think it's on 11, so on 27, just to kind of give it some symmetry there. And I don't need an instrument on it. And then it's going to create a new pattern for me. And then here's where I'm going to do my accumulator. So what I'm going to do first thing is I'm going to send this. I want to redirect the aux and send it to, let's gang this. And I want to send it to aux 11 on all of them, right? So you see, they'll all go into aux 11. And then now I'm going to do my accumulator offset, right? So this is going to subtract it. -1. I'm turning off my gang here. And then here is where, see, I can go -1 on the accumulator offset, but I can't do, so you see how where the 0 is, but on the randomized offset with the, you know, deaccumulator, mass aux C with the deaccumulator, it starts at 0. It doesn't allow me to go negative. So that's unfortunate. We're going to see if this helps solve it. So this is going to offset, but even though it's on track 20, whatever, 27 or whatever, it's because I'm sending it first, because I'm sending it to everything to track 11 at the very first aux. Everything after this aux A is going to go to track 11. So this accumulator should be affecting our track 11, right? And then here, I'm going to see if this works. This may not work. So I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. but I'm gonna go ahead and try get to randomize aux B on track 11. Here I'm gonna say accumulator mask aux B. I'm gonna run into the same problem, right? I'm not gonna be able to. It's gonna be at -1. So this one. So what happens here is that this deaccumulator, the deaccumulator on this track, I don't know. I mean, at the best, it seems like it's going to have the same issue as I had before, and at the either it's gonna be the deaccumulator is gonna be negative, right? I'm never gonna be able to get it greater than or equal to 0 or any number above that, or it's gonna be the deaccumulator from this track. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it works. Let's turn this track on. Oh, it's already on, right? I think I'm gonna check. Let me. I don't know what's happening, honestly. Here, let me hit stop. So let's go ahead and turn off that. Let's go ahead and turn off these directions there. You see the accumulator is dropping notes, but it's going forward now. So that's why. And then let's change. So I'm trying to figure out if this is doing anything. So let's randomize note. Trying to figure out here is if this is actually doing anything. This masking the aux B here, the deaccumulator. I don't think it is. I don't know which aux D is actually running on, right? If it's trying to use the one that's on track 11, if it's trying to use the one on this track here. So let's do an experiment where we're going to pull the track previous to track number 26. We are going to send this one to the track following it, redirect it to 27, right? That's track 26 to 27, yep. So that's, and then on this one, let's increment the deaccumulator, see if this works. +5. So if we go back to this track, we should see the accumulator adding now. If we hear those notes moving, then we know it's working. So this is mask. D is greater than 0, so it should be working. And then I guess here, let's go to the accumulator here. And we want to detach it from the aux D so we can use it on other things. So this is greater than, but I don't know if it's working. Maybe if this track is ahead of. So let me try that. So this track is downstream. It's on number 26. Sometimes the track order seems to matter. So let's try to put it at ahead. Let's hit stop on that. Okay. I don't remember how to copy a track here. So what's on this one here? I don't remember. This is where I am trying to. Okay, so let's do this track here. Let's copy to track 10. Track swap is done. Here's track 10. And there we go. So I've moved this aux before track 11, and then let's go ahead here, and I've got the Moog here on track 9. I'm going to try to move this one too. Let's copy it to number 7. So there's the Moogs now over on 7, and then on this one here I'm going to try to add, go back to track 26 and copy this thing to track 9. Right, so everything's happening downstream. Well, let me see here. Oops, track 9 here. So everything's happening. So this is gonna, we want to send this to track 10, right? And here we're going to offset +5. And then on track 10 here, I don't know if this is gonna work, honestly. This is this is what my last couple of months have been with the Cirklon, right? It's like I get this idea, can this work? And then I try to figure out some crazy hack like this, try to get it to work. And to be honest with you, most of the time I haven't been able to do it because I'm really drawn to kind of trying to mask, right, when certain events happen in a very kind of gradual phase. And the whole limitation of like things haven't happened in order and the accumulator only being on aux D makes things really hard, you know. So if all of them could have accumulators, and that would be really handy, because then, you know, you could use accumulator on B to mask other events downstream. You can detach the aux D, but then it just doesn't work well for me. I've been struggling with a lot of those issues. You know, probably if I thought it over and got more used to it, I could come up with some more clever solutions. But again, that's where I feel like I spend a lot of time my time being clever and not as much of my time being creative and being in the flow. So let's see if this works. Track 10 is going to increment the aux accumulator for track 9. Sorry, it's going to increment the aux accumulator for track 10. Track 10 is going to increment the accumulator for track 11 and send that one negative. And then hopefully, I'm hoping is that it will also start to mask here. So let me gang on this one here. And let's go above 20, right? And see if that works. And then we go to track 11. This is where our line is. So let's go here. We'll watch the accumulators. It's going to start over once I hit play. So you can see the negative is working. I heard a note drop. So the aux B that I'm trying to, you know, I would like it to randomize the notes. Let's see if that's going to work or not. Is it on? It's definitely enabled, right? You can see the triggers on the notes. But it doesn't appear to be working. Let's see here. Let's go to... And so we're at +70 now. So this mass aux B here should be working, right? The accumulator is above 80. Or it's sending the negative one. I don't know actually which one is sending. Right, so that's where it's really tough. If it's the negative one, then we're in the same boat that we were with the original track. Also, you know, I just realizing that, you know, the order happens. So aux A seems to operate, especially when you're doing masking. you have to mask on the aux before it, right? So I don't know if that was clear in the manual. That took a lot of time for me to figure it out as well. But here, because I'm trying to mask an aux B, which is after, with aux C, it's not going to work. So why don't I try to mask the aux D? I can't. Okay. So why don't I offset aux D down here instead? And here I'll do this one. And then here I'm going to try to mask aux C. Mask aux C. This one I want to randomize notes. See if that'll work. Maybe I can randomize it from here. Oh, that seems to work. Wait, let's see here. Oh, let's. Because I want this to be at 0, right? And then what I want is over here. Okay, so this is not on. So D accumulator has to be greater than n. What is the accumulator n? So 25, 30. So let's gang this up. And let's put it at. The accumulator has to be greater than 20, huh? So I want to mask up C. Seems to be masking all the time. So if hit stop, the accumulator should reset, right? And so the D accumulator should not trigger, right? So here I'm gonna mask C. What else can I do here? I don't know. Okay, so I don't want the aux C to start triggering until it's gone through a number of times, right? So let's try this one. N equals the greater than. See if that works. Nope, I want to mask. So that's not working. Try this one. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is kind of a tricky thicket here. Let me just stop. Okay, so I know that the aux is incrementing on this, but I don't know, because I'm sending the tracks here, auxes to track N, I don't know which aux D is. It's very confusing. Like I said, I'm still wrapping my head around it. So maybe the power users out there don't have as much trouble as I did. Like, again, you're not watching a power user. This is not an expert how-to video. This is a watch a noob struggle with one of the most powerful sequencers on the market type of video, right? So, you know, so if you're thinking about getting one, this might be your journey, right? You might have a easier time of it than I am. Maybe you're not trying to do the same things, but yeah. So what can we do here? Maybe I should just change the direction on this one. So let me do that. So the problem is that I can't put the direction and use the accumulator, even if I knew it was the right accumulator. So confusing. Because I would want it to be masking, right? What the accumulator would do is just actually change the value of the direction. So, you know, if it's at 50, if the accumulator's at 50, whatever 50 is for the direction, that's what it's going to change to. And I'm not trying to change direction. I just want to mask. I want it to have a 50% chance of triggering. So that's why the things that I want to do, the things that I really need to do is to get the accumulator on a mask operation. But the mask operations usually have to be in front of whatever it is you're trying to mask, and that's where I kind of keep spinning myself in circles over and over again, trying to figure out some way around that, right? Because it's so frustrating. Because, you know, it just seems like such a strange limitation that, you know, you have this awesome tool like the accumulator, but the way it's laid out, it's really hard to do it other than however it was that Colin was envisioning when he programmed it. I mean, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. See, this is kind of what I'm saying. You know, maybe I have this one that starts off and it's going one direction, the notes gradually drop off, and for as long as it's a different track, as long as the accumulator's at a certain range, this track is playing. This track is unmuted. But once it gets above 20, then it will mute this track and unmute the next track, which will be very similar to this, except that the note changes are active, and so that's how the notes can start changing a little bit. And then again, same thing, where after a certain amount of accumulations, that track will also get muted, and the final track will be unmuted, and that one will have to change the direction and everything. So it's possible to make it happen that way, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to record that, because honestly then I have to edit it. But it's a possibility. Like I said, this is kind of where my mind starts going through these rabbit holes, and I start thinking about how to program the Cirklon, and not really thinking about how to make this track more interesting or better, or, you know, and that's kind of where you start learning the machine and not really learning your music in a certain sense, right? That was always my fear about the electron boxes as well, right? Just because you learn how to electron doesn't mean you learn how to do music. And the same thing with the Cirklon here, where I'm learning how to route auxes and unmute and mute tracks. To what end? Like, does it make your music better? Maybe it doesn't. But, you know, it is one of the things that I have to be careful with when I'm messing with the Cirklon.